Welcome to the Team Engagement Podcast, where leaders of teams share their insights. Brought to you by Blue Sky Business Consulting. We discuss 5 questions in about 15 minutes.
Hello again, and I'm very excited to welcome our guest today, and I'll explain why in just half a second. This is Jay Aigner, and he is the CEO of JDAQA out of Philadelphia. And that's why I'm so excited to have him on, because he and I, before we started the recording, we had some good Phillies talk because we're both Phillies fans. So, Jay, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today, and thanks for being a Phillies fan. What would you like the audience to know about JDAQA?
First, thanks for having me, Sean, and go Phillies, obviously. So JDAQA, we're a software testing firm. That's all we do. We do software quality assurance. Companies like to build software, and we like to test it. So we've got 3 main hubs. We've got a United States team. We've got a team co-located in Mexico, and then we've got an offshore team in the Philippines. So we really kind of focus on owning QA for smaller businesses that don't have it yet, and then kind of augment QA for the larger companies that are growing and may need QA eventually. So that's kind of what we do in a nutshell.
Oh, that's awesome and very much needed, because there's always, when you're the user and you find a whole bunch of bugs in software, it's not a fun experience. So
That's why we're here, buddy.
that's why you're here. Love it. All right, let's get started with our questions. Jay, question number 1, as you've been building your business, is there a challenge that you've overcome that you're especially proud of?
I think becoming a real CEO is probably the biggest challenge. I was a QA guy with a development background. I did consulting for a while and kind of built my business that way. But not having an MBA or a business background, I'm pretty proud of the fact that we've matured into a real organization with a lot of structure and a lot of really good processes, and we do a lot of really good high quality work. So just being able to embrace the challenges of sales and marketing and finance and all these different things that you don't learn anywhere unless you go to business school. I'm pretty proud of me, and honestly, the team has really carried this whole thing, and I've gotten lucky to work with some really good people. So just proud of the fact that we've been able to pull this off.
Oh, I love that. I love the overcoming self perspective that you have. Kind of, hey, I no business background or training or anything, but you became a CEO, and that has a storyline all in its own. So that's awesome. That's great. All right, question number 2, Jay, how can leaders of teams help to nurture or foster creativity within the team or the company?
That's a great question. I would say being able to communicate freely is probably the easiest kind of cheap answer there that I'm sure a lot of people would say. But when you really do have an environment where everybody feels like they can contribute and they're not going to be shot down. Like I've worked for some companies, obviously not going to name any names, that the senior leadership may have shot down a lot of stuff, or even talked down to people in front of the team members and stuff. And I really, really believe that every person on the team is necessary, and everybody on the team is exactly the same value. And if they weren't, they wouldn't be on the team serving a specific role. So just treating everybody with a lot of respect and their ideas with respect, and the creativity kind of flows from there.
I love that. I love what you said right there at the end about treating other people's ideas with respect. I think that's a fantastic way to approach it. And I really like that idea that that's a great way to create and allow for creation to happen. So, yeah. Oh, that's an awesome answer. I love that. All right, question number 3. How can a leader help to kind of help the team members trust each other in an environment like a company or a team?
I think it's exposure to, harsh environments, right? If you are in a foxhole with somebody else and you're going to war together and you're seeing how people react, which comes from leadership trusting everybody else in the team, right? So if there's trust all around from top down, where you're giving a lot of people responsibility that maybe some companies or some leaders aren't willing to do, that may stifle those people's ability to kind of watch somebody shine in a time that's tough, or put in that extra effort when things need to get done, or work late one day or over a weekend, or make communications with a client extra super clear because they know how important it is to the rest of the company. So I think just living those examples together has allowed our team to really trust each other and kind of lean on each other when they need some help.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. Yeah, it can be a tough thing to help the people trust each other, but I love that you pointed out that the leaders need to trust the people, and that will help kind of spread a little bit to them helping to trust each other. That's great. All right, question number 4. Is there an experience that you can share that might be perceived as a failure, but you turned it into a win?
Yeah, so early on, when we were very small and I was doing consulting work myself and working on these projects with my team members, we had a really bad release where some stuff got out, and in QA, it only takes 1% of 1% of something to be missed for it to find that one person who's going to see it, and it's going to be a stakeholder, and it's going to not go well. So I was not taking my job seriously enough, and I missed something that I, looking back, was very easy to see. A feature got out that was not performing properly. It got into the customer's hands, and then it kind of became a this isn't a goodbye, but we're going to go on a break kind of conversation with the client, which obviously just eventually ended up end of a relationship. But that taught me how to not only pay attention to detail myself, but kind of instill those values in the rest of the team, which has led to countless wins and countless employees that kind of share that same value. I don't think if I went through that and kind of felt the pain of somebody saying, you messed up and, we're going to end our contract with you now, and it was because of something that you did, I could have turtled up and kind of just said, all right, I guess this business thing isn't for me. Or I could take it as a lesson that, not only do I have to be on top of my game, so does everybody else. And my job eventually became making sure everybody on the team was built to handle those situations and really pay attention to detail. So I would say that that's probably the biggest, failure to a win situation for us.
I appreciate you sharing that. Those are always such bittersweet experiences when I listen to the guests talk about this, because it's tough when they have a really negative experience. But hats off to you for not letting that stop you from continuing and learning from it. And that's what turns a perceived negative or a failure into a win, is because you didn't give up and you learned from it and it helped you be better. And so I think that's fantastic. So congratulations for seeing it through and allowing it to help you and the company be better. I think that's awesome. So well done.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Our last question. Jay, tell us a little bit about your first job.
So I'm going to go with the actual first job I had. I used to make websites for people back, and it actually goes back to I think it was in 5th or 6th grade, and, the internet was kind of new and everybody was doing posters, and everybody brought in their, science fair poster, and I made a website for nuclear power, and my 5th grade teacher was just blown away that cause it wasn't a big deal back then, but that was around the time when I was learning how to do HTML stuff and just kind of taught myself how to make websites. And then my mom, who owned an advertising agency, had a bunch of clients that wanted websites. So I kind of built my own little, I think I can't remember what the name of it, WebWorks back in the day, and made websites for companies and got, paid pretty well for a 13 or 14-year-old kid back when the internet was just starting. So that was my actual first job.
I love that. I remember that era of the 90s when everybody was creating stuff. Yep. And it was an exciting time. It's hard to replicate the feeling that was everywhere, this new thing, quote unquote new thing. But I love that you capitalized it even on as a young teenager. I think that's awesome.
Thank you.
All right. Well, Jay, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. How can people find you?
So I'm on LinkedIn. Just look up Jay Aigner. You can check out the website, JDAQA.com, or shoot me an email, jay@JDAQA.com. And I'm always willing to chat.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, thanks so much for joining us, everyone. And thanks again, Jay, and go Phillies.
Go Phillies. Thanks, Sean.
This is Sean Richards with the Team Engagement Podcast, where leaders of teams share their insights. For more ideas, go to teamengagementpodcast.com. We also invite you to follow or subscribe to our podcast wherever you may be listening or watching. Is your business thriving? Go to tbs-score.com to find out. Thanks for joining us today. Have a great day.